Good morning. Thanks for coming. I'm delighted to be here this morning with a very important piece of legislation that will not only comply with federal law, but more importantly, increase the window for members of our military to vote and to have their votes received and counted when they're serving overseas. I'm told that there were 11,000 overseas military ballots cast in the 2008 election, approximately. And according to an analysis by the Star Tribune, approximately 4% of those ballots did not get back in time, and perhaps were not counted in the 2008 election. That's one measure and one example of the potential for disenfranchisement of the military vote. And so the federal law that was passed just last year in 2009 recognized that reality and made it a priority for states and election systems all across the country to take more time to allow for those military ballots to be processed and counted in an appropriate way. So the legislation that's before us this morning accomplishes that goal by moving Minnesota's primary up and all the corresponding timelines up as well. The bill passed the Minnesota Senate unanimously, 61 votes to 0. Passed the Minnesota House nearly unanimously, 126 votes to 5. It's a good example of bipartisan work coming together to pass an important and needed piece of legislation. We're joined today by members of the Minnesota National Guard and by members of the Regional Support Command who worked with Secretary of State Mark Ritchie's office on this legislation, as well as many other representatives and leaders of veterans organizations and causes in the room. We're also joined by representatives specifically of the VFW, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, and others. As you know, these men and women who have served our United States military and our country and have worn the uniform give their all. And we're very grateful to them. We're very grateful to them with our words, but also with our deeds. This is another step forward in trying to improve and enhance the respect and appreciation for support of the members of the military, and it's an important piece of legislation. I'll be glad to sign it in just a moment. Before I do, though, I want to turn it over to a few speakers. We're joined here by many, many dignitaries, and we'll be here a long time if they all speak, but with their concurrence, we'd like to call forward a few of the bill authors and a few others for comments, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. I'd like to start, even though he wasn't the chief bill author, with somebody who has been with us at every veterans bill signing and veterans event across the state. He has served the state with incredible distinction. He has a tremendous heart for service and a tremendous heart for the cause of veterans and men and women in the military, and he is, of course, Senator Jim Vickerman. He chairs the Veterans Committee in the Minnesota Senate. He's been a steadfast, unwavering supporter of the cause of veterans. He's a veteran himself, and he's been just a reliable, steady, bipartisan, constructive ally and friend during my time as governor on these issues and many others. So I'd like to give him the honor to speak first in deference to his tremendous service. And unfortunately, he's retiring and won't be continuing on after the next election. But Senator Vickerman, thank you for all you've done for Minnesota veterans. Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for showing up. This is really a very important bill. It's an important bill for our veterans. I want their vote counted. I want to be sure it's counted and not get lost some way on the way. So it's a good bill. Governor, I can't thank you enough for going along with it. When I look at all the young veterans, some of us are old veterans, so it's a good day, happy day. Just remember to get out the primary. I was in one years ago, the four-way primary. And it's awful easy to say, well, I'll go fishing or I'll stay home and I won't pay no attention to the primary, but they're very important. And I hope the public gets to the primary. Take time off. It won't take that long. So thank you very much, Governor.
Welcome, Senator. Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. Next, we have the Senate author, Senator Terri Bonoff, who has worked diligently on these issues as well, and we're glad that she joins us this morning also. Senator Bonoff.
Thank you, Governor. You know, usually election law is somewhat contentious, and as you can see, we passed this bill unanimously in the House and the Senate, and we've been working on moving the primary certainly for the last several years, and I have come to learn we've been working on moving the primary since the early 1900s, and it has moved many times. So why this time? Why were we able to pass this bill unanimously in both the House and the Senate? I think it's obvious. The answer is because now we have all come together around our respect and our appreciation for the folks who serve us so greatly in the military. And so I thank all of them for their service. And when the Federal MOVE Act happened, we had the opportunity to respond to that, and we did. A bipartisan group of legislators, and many of whom who are here today, Senator Russ, Senator Gerlach, Representative Simon, Representative Winkler, Representative Emmer, we all came together and spent a long time working on these issues and saw that this was the right thing to do. So I thank each and every one of them for their hard work, and it was an honor and a privilege to be part of this process. And mostly, I am grateful that those who serve in the military will have their voices heard with this change. So thank you.
We ask the members of our armed forces to defend our democracy. The least we can do is let them participate in that democracy. And I think today we've come one step closer to making sure that they can without fear that their absentee ballots won't be counted. When we first started this effort, I remember hearing from someone who had been involved in many recounts in Minnesota going back for decades at the legislative level and even at the statewide level. And she said, you know, the sad part about all these recounts is that there are always two piles of ballots that aren't counted. One is the pile of ballots where people just did it wrong. They filled it out wrong and they're spoiled. The other, though, is the pile that consists of people who got their ballots in late, and the overwhelming majority of those, unfortunately, are our military personnel. And I hope that's a thing of the past now. So I thank the governor, I thank Republicans and Democrats who worked on this, and I think this is a new day when it comes to voting in Minnesota. Thanks.
Well, I would just like to echo something Senator Bonoff said, because it's very important. Election issues are often very contentious. Those of you who follow this in the press know that. And this really provided us an opportunity. It forced us together, maybe that's not the right word, it provided us that opportunity to work together. And this is one of several election issues where we are putting the interests of Minnesotans, of our voters, ahead of any partisan interests. And we've taken, oftentimes legislators will look at these proposals and say, well, how will this affect me individually? We pushed that off the table and we said, what is going to be the best? And we really were able to work together on this. And today is certainly a testament to that. So thank you.
I was deployed to Iraq in 2008, and I cast an absentee ballot. And myself and many others were concerned that our voice was not heard. We put on this uniform in order to defend our country and defend its political systems. And I think that the passing of this bill really just reinforces many of the reasons that a lot of our soldiers elect to put on this uniform. And I think that I speak on behalf of all of our service members when I thank you, Governor Pawlenty, for your continued support in ensuring that our voice is heard.
Great. Thank you, Sergeant. Appreciate it. With that, we'll sign the bill. But I'll just say in closing, the men and women who serve in our United States military stand and, if need be, fight for our liberties and our freedoms and our rights. The least we can do is make sure that they have and enjoy the opportunity to exercise those same rights and privileges, and voting being one of the most fundamental of all. And so we're grateful for all of that. I do want to also ask the Secretary of State to step forward. He, of course, has had a great involvement in this bill and related legislation, and has always been at a lot of veterans events and has been a great supporter of that as well. So please, Secretary of State, make some comments.
Thank you, Governor. And the Governor's leadership on all full range of veterans and active duty issues has been clear to everyone, and I'm so appreciative of his leadership on this bill as well. And you've seen how much it has been a bipartisan effort. But it had a starting point, and I want to just recognize my colleague and good friend, Sergeant Major Bob Heichel, a colleague of mine from the Association for U.S. Army. 6 years ago, Sergeant Major Heichel said, we have a problem here, you've got to do something about this. And he introduced me to Lieutenant Colonel Couillard, who was the voting assistance officer out at the 88th, out at Fort Snelling. She said, here are the things that you could do to make a difference. And we've made some of those changes a couple years ago. Today, we mark another important change, but this has happened because people have worked together from the bottom all the way to the top to make this important step forward. We have more to do, but today is a great day for all Minnesotans, and thank you again, Governor, for pulling us all together for this.
Thank you. Tell everybody else, thank you for coming. We appreciate it very much and your hard work on this, and we'll go ahead and sign the bill.